At first light, a merchant crew sees a single ship turning toward them and a black flag going up. They have cannon. They have the numbers to make a fight of it. They surrender without firing a shot. And most of them will never even see the man they are surrendering to. This is a fear that arrives before the person does. 300 years ago, one man built it better than anyone in history. In the dozens of accounts left by the people he robbed, there's no record that he killed any of them. Not one. So how do you become the most terrifying man on the ocean without killing anyone? The answer is that the fear was built on purpose, and it worked so well that it outlived him. Until the man we picture today is not the man who lived. His name was Edward Thache, probably born in Bristol around 1680. He went to sea as a privateer, which was legal work in wartime. When the war ended in 1713, the work ended with it, and thousands of trained sailors had nothing. He went to Nassau. In November 1717, he captured a French slave ship called La Concorde. He fitted her with 40 guns and renamed her the Queen Anne's Revenge. Colin Woodard, who wrote the definitive modern account of these men, describes what Thache did next as a kind of marketing. The fear had a costume. According to the most famous account of his life, he tied lit fuses under his hat before a fight. The slow-burning cord wreathed his face in smoke. He hung 3 pairs of pistols across his chest. He arranged himself, one description says, to look like something that had climbed out of hell. And here's what the costume was for. A merchant crew would see the smoke and the armed men behind it and surrender before anyone fired a shot. The fear did the fighting for him. By 1718, he commanded 4 ships and several hundred men. It was the most powerful pirate force in the hemisphere. It almost never had to be used. But here's what almost nobody checks. We remember Blackbeard as a murderer. That image has a problem. In 2008, a historian named Arne Bialuschewski went through forgotten accounts in the archives of Jamaica, testimony from the people Blackbeard actually robbed. Account after account, and in none of them does he kill anyone. He threatened and he took. He just didn't kill. The violence was the reputation, and the reputation was mostly a performance. Think about how far that performance could reach. In May 1718, he sailed up to Charleston, South Carolina, and stopped the entire port. For about a week, nothing went in or out of the harbor without his permission. He took hostages, and one of them sat on the colony's governing council. A whole city held still by a reputation. And here's what he asked for in exchange. Not gold, not the cargo and the holds, a chest of medicine. The governor sent it, and the hostages were released. Robbed, frightened, and alive. He held the city for a week, and nobody died. And when terror stopped being useful, he simply put it down. In June of 1718, he sailed to Bath in North Carolina and accepted the king's pardon from the governor himself. Just like that, the most feared man on the coast became a private citizen. He bought a house, he took a wife. The town treated its pardoned pirate like a kind of celebrity. The monster and the gentleman were the same man, 3 months apart. He had only changed costumes. Within a few months, he was quietly back at sea. The pardon had been a roll too, worn for exactly as long as it paid. You run a quieter version of the same thing. Think of the last time you were discussed in a room you weren't in. The people in that room formed a picture of you, and it wasn't really you. It was the short version, the story of you. Most of the people who will ever know your name will know you that way, as a story, repeated while you're not there to correct it. And the ones who only ever meet that version will believe it is the whole of you. You are easier to summarize than to know, so the summary travels and you stay behind. And here is the strangest part. His entire career as a pirate captain lasted only about 2 years. The legend has lasted 300. Most of what you picture when you hear the name comes from a single book, A General History of the Pirates, published in 1724. 6 years after he was dead. Its author called himself Captain Charles Johnson, and to this day nobody is certain who that was. The fuses in the beard, the demon's face, the bloodthirst, much of it lives in that book. Written by a stranger about a man who could no longer answer back. We even found his ship. In 1996, divers off North Carolina located the wreck of the Queen Anne's Revenge and began lifting hundreds of thousands of objects off the sea floor. We have his cannon. We have his flagship. We do not have the man. We still can't say for certain where he was born. On the 22nd of November 1718, a Navy lieutenant named Robert Maynard cornered him at Ocracoke Inlet. This time there was no flag to send the crew running, and no surrender. By the accounts, he went down under 5 gunshots and more than 20 cuts. Maynard cut off his head and hung it from the front of his ship. It was meant to be the end of him. But every crew that ever lowered its guns to him had surrendered to a man they never really saw. They were never given up to Edward Thache. They were given up to the story. And a story has no head to cut off. Maynard took the man. The fear that arrived before him was already somewhere else, and it never came down.